Paramount's that studio that's been struggling for the last decade.
Is he serious?
No.
Drive-by movies, you're watching
Fresh releases.
My name's Blaise.
And I'm James.
And this week, we're talking the brand new The Naked Gun.
I found justice. What do you want, little one? Your ass. Nobody messes with the police squad.
The Naked Gun is the latest legacy sequel that I don't think anyone asked for, but we got it. And it's about one man who has a particular set of skills to lead the police squad and save the world. So that doesn't really spoil the plot a whole lot, because the plot is pretty much exactly the same as the villainous plot of Kingsman: The Secret Service, if anyone remembers that first movie. But funny enough, though, just like I just saw the Naked Gun movies for the first time like about a year ago. And this is one of those movies that I had no idea was even being made until the trailer came out. Like, the trailer just popped out and I was just like, what? Are you kidding me? They're rebooting this with Liam Neeson? Blaise, you had seen the movies when you were a kid. What are your thoughts coming out of this latest reboot or legacy sequel?
Yeah, I have to say I was pleasantly surprised by just this movie even making it to theaters, because it's been such a thing in at least the past, 5 years, especially even a little bit before COVID, that comedy movies in theaters was kind of a pipe dream. That wasn't really going to ever happen anymore. It felt like, producers and filmmakers, but mainly the studios, weren't even interested in taking a risk on any comedy movie, because they were only knowing that they would get domestic box office, and international box office wasn't even an option really, with jokes that are only going to fly in America, or just were only going to make sense with the cultural context to Americans, and weren't going to play to like a Chinese or international audience. But I think I'm pleasantly surprised that Paramount dropped The Naked Gun, and it was just if this thing felt so weird in the sense, like, all right, they had Leslie Nielsen in the original Naked Gun, but like Liam Neeson like reprising the role as Frank Drebin, like, this is just interesting from front to back. And I think I was pleasantly surprised by this movie, especially with the runtime of an hour and 25 minutes.
Yeah, honestly, bring back more 80 minutes, 85 minutes, just because it was just a simple, just smile going to the movie, smile leaving, and like not getting home too late. Saw this after work at 8 o'clock at night, and it just felt nice getting home at around 10 o'clock. I'm just like, it's not too late. I feel good watching a movie after work like this. But just the best part about this movie, though, was seeing a comedy in theaters again, just because I don't remember the last comedy I've seen in theaters. Like, the closest thing we've gotten, I think, was just Barbie. Like, that movie, I guess, like, still has a lot more sentimental stuff compared to, well, by far compared to this movie. But you could say that movie is also listed as a drama. But like, honestly, the last straight up comedy I think I remember seeing was maybe Blockers, possibly, or Jackass #4, but still very different style movies. Like, Jackass is still somewhat of a documentary, you can say, versus Blockers. Like, I don't even remember when that came out, but that feels like the last comedy I saw in theaters. So that I was thankful for. Does the movie work altogether? I'd say so. Like, I was still laughing the whole movie, and it was just funny and great to watch. I'd say the first 45 minutes are the funniest aspects, and it kind of loses its steam the last half of the movie. But still, though, it's a great time, and just a fun short time out of your day that I highly recommend people to go check out, though.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think this movie really came in hot with a ton of great visual gags. And I feel like you could talk about comedies and how we haven't got them, but you can also talk about, like, we haven't got a comedy like this even longer before that, because this is all just visual gags, comedy, and just stupid, silly jokes. Like, usually when you get a comedy, it's at least a little bit less silly and more just, more jokey. Then this is just a lot of like stupid silliness, and just it was absolutely fun, and did kind of call back to that original Naked Gun with that same comedy style. But yeah, I have to say that that first 40 minutes was really strong. There's a ton of great visual gags and a ton of good jokes, and the jokes per minute was very high. And that's another thing. Like usually in a comedy movie you're gonna get in theaters, the jokes per minute probably aren't like crazy like this, where it's literally like maybe like 10 jokes a minute, it felt like, especially in the beginning. But it does tend to lose its steam towards the end. You kind of getting like over all these visual gags a little bit, or they're just a little bit less inventive than the ones they offloaded in the beginning of the movie.
Yeah, I'd say overall the second half, it's definitely a lot less jokes per minute. I think the writers just were just like, oh crap, we used all the best jokes in the first half, and like, you know, they had to push the plot forward towards the second half of the movie, which I totally understand, but just I guess like I had just outlaughed myself at that point. I think like the heights of the movie are definitely like the snowman sequence, as well as the heat vision binocular scene that we're watching too. Like those are scenes where just like my theater was laughing so hard to where you couldn't really hear anything going on. Not that there was that much dialogue really going on in those sequences, but those are the moments where it just felt nice being in a theater amongst people laughing hysterically loud and stuff. Like you and I are always complaining about how loud audiences are. These are the kind of audiences that I love though, and stuff, and just miss going to the theater for. And that's what I crave when I go to a theater. Like you know, like we did just get Friendship recently, and we talked about how great that experience was and everything. But just seeing a mainstream movie in a mainstream theater, because I saw Friendship at an indie theater with a bunch of like, you know, cinema lovers or cinefans, I guess you could say. But just seeing a movie on a Thursday opening night, and you know, it wasn't really a crowded theater, but still though with a very loud and into it audience, just felt like very nostalgic, even though like, you know, I don't have so much nostalgia for this franchise. But you know, I just want a studio to go back into making more comedies. And you know, Paramount's that studio that's been struggling for the last decade with not having like a franchise to control. And I'm not saying this is the franchise to control, I'm just saying hopefully they put money towards comedies in general. Like every studio has their big action blockbusters that they're working on, their animation division, but no comedy whatsoever. Maybe Paramount should try to take over as that studio.
Yeah, I honestly think that that would be a great play for Paramount. Paramount's kind of in the throes of a merger, as we know right now, with Skydance, and whether that's going to be one of the avenues they try to do, I could see that being a thing, because I don't really know if they're in the franchise game. They only have a handful of franchise that'll really keep them in it. Whether they try and make new ones, maybe this kind of rises to the top if this is a success. We did see this on opening day, so we'll have to see kind of towards you know, the end of the weekend to see whether this did, you know, well enough that they're going to be thinking about that. But I do think that they're probably going to take any win they can and probably roll with it, because if this is a win, I could see them definitely kind of spawning off more sequels. This did feel kind of contained. I don't know the budget, but it felt like a safe kind of play. Like we haven't seen Pam Anderson really in a long time. I think she's been kind of riding on the coattail success of what was that Hulu show where she's not in it, but you know, it's about her, and she's kind of been kind of riding that, especially with her The Last Showgirl earlier this year, you know, towards the tail end of the end of last year. But she was a pleasant surprise seeing her in this movie. She was absolutely funny, and I would like to see actually more of her, because I thought she did a really great job in this, especially, you know, alongside Liam Neeson, who is kind of her senior, I guess. But you know, they were a fun little duo that I feel like if you were to guess 5 years ago that they would be in a movie together, there's no way anyone could have you know, moved the fortune telling pieces and figured that one out.
Right, yeah, I'd say the best parts of the movie is their chemistry for the most part, honestly, and like the funniest sequences we were describing earlier involved them. So yeah, I mean, I guess the second half they kind of split them up for a good portion of the movie, just because, you know, Liam Neeson has to push the plot forward, which I was the only one in the theater who cracked up laughing right when they pull that out of the safe and it says PLOT device and stuff. And I was just like, really, that joke didn't land for other people? Like just having a MacGuffin within the movie literally called plot device. But you know, like as the movie starts to focus more towards that aspect, you know, is when it started to lose its steam. But yeah, the show you were talking about was Pam and Tommy on Hulu. But yeah, just like seeing them together though, like this is a cast I never would have expected And just in a franchise, I never expected to ever get blaisedit again. It's a franchise I always saw going into the comedy section at Blockbuster. I always wanted to see it, but my mom and dad were just like, you know, they didn't want me to watch like junk movies, I guess you could say, even though they allowed me to watch Airplane, which is the same style of humor and I believe the same writers too. But yeah, it captures the vibe of those movies pretty well, but still does its own thing. And also, you know, we just reviewed Happy Gilmore too. Like, it doesn't try to focus on like cameos or like having big moments or rely on flashbacks and stuff. Like there is no flashbacks in this movie. Like in the end credits sequence, like they do show the car sequence during the end credits that were in the opening credits of the original movie. But, you know, outside of just using images of the original characters, like I'm glad that it didn't try to focus on any of the previous characters from the original 3 movies.
I'm not gonna lie, I really did expect there to be like a CGI or AI version of Leslie Nielsen like on the face of the owl at the end of the film. I thought like they were somehow gonna like pull out something that was just so ridiculous. But I mean, this film wasn't made by Disney, so I guess that didn't happen.
Right, yeah. So, you know, what are your thoughts coming out of Naked Gun? Was this a worthy legacy sequel, or is this your first entry into this franchise? Let us know in the comments below what you thought about the movie, because that's a great way to help support the show.
And if you guys haven't already, go ahead and smash the like button, hit the subscribe button, and click that notification bell to keep all of our latest updates.
And speaking of updates, catch all our social media links down below. We got Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, as well as our own Letterboxd accounts. That's it for this week. Tune in next week for a brand new video.